What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 4 of All You Can Talk Sports. I'm your host, Soupy Kim, with your other host on the other side, M-Carp. This is the second time in 12 hours that we're recording, man. How are you feeling on this wonderful morning?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm not as tired as I thought I would be, but it's gonna kick in later on after work. So,
Yeah, I definitely
uh,
know it's going to do that with me because it's very cloudy up here. But nonetheless, we got some sports to talk about. you know, we're gonna pick up where we left off last night. We talked
let's
about
go.
game 1 of the World Series. Now we gotta talk about game 2. We got a preview. We're gonna predict. We got Blake Snell on the mound for the Rays. Then we got Gonsolin for the on the mound for the Dodgers. What's gonna happen? What do you think's gonna happen here, Mario?
Well, look, I mean, Blake Snell is definitely one of the best pitchers in the MLB. I mean, nobody's doubting that or anything like that. So, what the Dodgers gonna have to do is that offense is gonna have to light it up like they've been doing. I can't see Gonsolin having a good game. I mean, I could be proven wrong, but if you would have asked me, chances are who's going to have a better game between Blake Snell and Gonsolin, I'm choosing Blake Snell every day of the week. So it's crucial that this offense gets hot. And if they don't, I say the other thing is that Gonsolin has to hold his own. It's going to come down to one of those two. It's if Blake Snell is having a really good game in the postseason. Remember, we haven't really seen Blake Snell in the postseason, so it's kind of tough to determine what he's going to do. But if Blake Snell turns into the Blake Snell that he usually is in the postseason, then it's going to be up to either this Dodgers offense to perform well, or it's going to be up to Gonsolin to hold his own against Blake Snell. And honestly, I can see the Dodgers offense being on fire more than I can see Gonsolin going head to head with Blake Snell, who's one of the best pitchers in the American League and baseball in general.
I think the Rays, with their ace on the mound, I think the Rays need to step up. Like I said last night, they got to study their opponent. Look at film. Watch them play. They got to light it up tonight. This is crucial for them because if they can tie this series up, it's just gonna go to show you how much of a dogfight this is gonna be with their ace. Dodgers had their ace on the mound last night and they lit it up. The Rays got to do the same exact thing. They have their ace on the mound. They got to light it up offensively. Defensively, there's no problems. I like the way their defense is looking on both sides. But as of right now, they got to light it up offensively. Their best pitchers on the mound, and it's probably not going to be like that for the next 3, 4, maybe 5. Game 5, if there's even going to be a game. Well, if there's even going to be a game 5. So I think this is crucial for the Rays. I think this is going to be a good one.
You a little laggy, but it's all good. It's all good. I heard everything you said. It's just the video quality. But
Uh,
the one thing I could say is this is the Rays' best chance to stay in this series right here, because Blake Snell needs to have a game. The Rays in general, they need to have Blake Snell show up today, because if he doesn't, then it's a lead that you don't want the Rays to have, especially since your aces, especially if your ace loses, or if you guys lose a game with your ace. So the Rays need to take every opportunity that they can to win this game, because this is probably the most important game for the Rays in this World Series, unless it goes to like a game 7. But they need Blake Snell to show up.
I agree. I agree. I think it's going to be a great game. World Series Game 2 on tonight on Fox at 8:08. Weird time, but it's on tonight. Now, I want to shift the tide a little bit. Now the other day, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were on the rec. Were on. What was it again? Was it the World Series? Or was it football? Was it? It was football. No, it was football. Troy Aikman doesn't
Football,
do
yeah, Monday
baseball.
night.
Yeah, Troy Aikman doesn't do baseball. That's my fault for the viewers out there. So it's a little early in the morning still, but they made comments about jet fuel. I'm gonna have Mario talk that because I don't have that, but Mario does. I'm gonna let him take it from here.
Yeah, so basically, after the national anthem on Monday night, Troy Aikman said that's a lot of jet fuel just to do a little flyover. And Joe Buck said that's your hard-earned money and your tax dollars at work. And Troy Aikman said that stuff ain't happening with Kamala So, my question to you, Nate, is not the comment in general, but well, Do you think that comment was necessary to make after the national anthem, or do you think that there's a problem with him making that comment after the national anthem?
Well, I'm one to say that, you're subjected to your opinion, which is true.
I agree.
However, there's a good place to say something and there's a bad time to say something. Now, I won't say what he said was inappropriate because I don't really know necessarily what to say about it. But in terms of the environment and what they're supposed to be doing, I don't think it was the right time to say it. I think that that's something that you should say off the mic. Um, and as far as I'm concerned, it was the same situation with the Reds announcer who used a gay slur while still live on the Reds game, and I remember that. I remember watching that game live, and he literally said, "I was like, wow, like kudos to you, not knowing that you're still alive." But this one's a little different. I mean, I understand what they're saying, but like at the same time, this is something that you need to keep to yourself. This is something that you can't be saying on the air. This isn't the time for politics. You're supposed to be doing one thing and one thing only. That's talking about sports like we're doing right now. You're not supposed to be talking about anything else. That's it. Talk about sports. You can talk about the Yankees for all I damn care in the football booth because Joe Buck don't shut his mouth about the damn Yankees. We already know that. But don't bring up things that have nothing to do with sports. It's that's really all I gotta say about that. I think it was just a bad time to say. I don't think what he said was bad. I just think it was a bad time to say it.
Well, I'll start off with I agree. Everybody has their own opinion. Start off with that. Honestly, it was odd for him to say it at the time that he did, but with everything going on, like the NBA, you started seeing it. They started talking about more than a vote, and politics. I've learned this in sports comm class. People are talking about how it's like just oh my god, I can't even talk today. How it's just showing up, and so but that's not necessarily true. Politics has always been in sports, whether you've seen it or not. It's always been in sports. It hasn't just recently occurred. It's it's just now it's more anticipated than ever. Do I have a problem with him saying what he said? I don't. Honestly, I don't. And I think it's a lot different than the gay slur that it was the Reds, right?
Yeah.
That the Reds commentator made. It's a lot different because in that case, that's homophobic slurs that you should not be saying on sports TV. And another thing I learned in sports comm is the mic is always hot. No matter
Right.
what you say, it's always hot. So that's why you got to watch out for what you say. I think it's odd that I get what you're saying. Like, I get what you're saying that what he said, it wasn't really necessary for that sport. I completely agree. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I definitely think it's odd because because we hear a lot about a lot of athletes and a lot of commentators. They talk about certain like political issues, but they never talk about exactly who they're gonna vote for.
Right.
So like you don't hear a lot of commentators say, well, I'm gonna vote for, like, you don't hear a lot of commentators say, huh, Trump's doing a really good job at this right now, or Biden's doing a really good job right now, because that's not their job to do that. Their job is to talk about sports. Do I have a problem with what he said? No. Do I think it was inappropriate? I mean, I'm gonna go with no. It's unnecessary, but it wasn't inappropriate.
Right.
I think that I think that after the national anthem, I can see a lot of people having backlash over it because there are a lot of people who wear the national anthem and as an emotion on their sleeve, and I can see a lot of people getting upset with this. But again, it's just Troy Aikman speaking his opinion. It's something that he's obviously a Hall of Fame quarterback. He knows what he's talking about. I don't think it's going to cost him his job or nothing like that. I don't think it's going to ruin any credibility that he has because he's built such a great legacy. I don't think it's inappropriate. I just think that between Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, I just think that it was a little unnecessary.
A little
It
unprofessional.
didn't really need to be talked about, and a little odd.
I think.
I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe a little unprofessional, but I wouldn't say that. Everybody has a title to their
Yeah.
opinions. If this turns into a big story, then it really shouldn't have. It really shouldn't because
Right.
there's really nothing there. But before we get off this topic, Troy Aikman he posted a tweet try, defending himself basically. And I'll read the tweet. He said, "I love a flyover, but it was odd to see one over a mostly empty stadium. But I am an unwavering patriot that loves this country, has always respected our flag, supported the men and women in the forces, as well as those in uniforms who serve and protect, and for anyone to suggest." And then he said, "Otherwise doesn't know me. My beliefs or what I have stood for my beliefs are what I have stood for my entire life." So do I think it's something that he should apologize for? Not really.
No.
I don't think it's that big enough. I don't think
I
it's
mean,
big enough.
oh, by the way, before I say anything, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Can you see me clearly? Can you hear me
Yeah.
clearly?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because my computer is being dummy
Okay.
again. But anyway, I just wanted to get that away. Anyway, like I said before, everybody is subjected to their own opinions, and as long as they're not too extremist, I respect it. Some extremist opinions are a little too far, but he's not extreme about it. He's got his own opinion. I respect him for respecting everybody. That deserves a lot of respect. I just think, as an athlete myself, if you're going to be doing something involved in sports on the field, you worry about that. You don't worry about anything else outside of that. Whatever happens outside of that, it's got nothing to do with what's going on right now. You know what I mean? So
that's where I disagree.
Sometimes you got to keep that stuff out and focus on what's in front of you. And then outside, I don't care. Outside, that's outside of the field. You can do whatever the hell you want. That's on you. I got no control over that. But I think when you're on the field, whether you're a reporter or an athlete or a coach, you gotta focus on that. I don't I don't think what he said was inappropriate. I don't think what he said was bad. I think everybody's subjected to their own opinion, but I think it was just odd and unnecessary for the time that is.
That's where we disagree, because the way it is I think it's all about choice. So for instance, like we look at like Michael Jordan, for example, and he was never political on or off, barely even political off the court when he was playing. But then we look at somebody like LeBron James, who was very political on and off the court. And so with that being said, it's like it's now we're starting to see, I'll say one thing that's probably, it's not really new because it happened in the Olympics. But one thing that is starting to be seen is how politics, because I've on race and in sports and gender and all that type of stuff. We did a whole chapter on that. And the one thing is that a lot of athletes are looked at as just athletes. So a big way to send their message is to do it on the sports field itself. And so that's how you see now, like NBA players, they're wearing jerseys with like on the back of them, they got like political messages or whatever like that.
Right.
So I don't see no problem with it. I think if you want it on the field, then go ahead and do that. As long as you're performing, I don't see a problem with that.
That's not what I was getting to though. What I was getting to is more on the broadcasting side. It's like, I've need to the national anthem because I don't know if the viewers know, I know you know this. I am a black man and I do support the Black Lives Matter movement. Obviously, it'd be wrong for me not to. That I understand the player's perspective. I'm talking about the broadcaster's perspective. When you're you're in the booth, that you got to focus on the game. As far as the athletes I'm concerned, that's understandable. A lot of us athletes are African Americans. We're however you want to say it these days, minorities. I don't know how you guys say it out there, but as far as I'm concerned with the broadcasters, they can say it, but I think in my opinion, I think there's a time and place to say certain things.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say like this time that they said it, it wasn't really, it wasn't exactly ideally a bad time.
Yeah.
Because he said it what in a way it could affect, it could get people talking, but it was right after the national anthem, so it's not like he said it during the national anthem, because if he did, I could see a problem with that. That's a time for you to stay, like, whether you knee or stand, it's usually a time where people just stay silent and wait for it all to be over. But he waited till after the national anthem was over, before the game even started, so nothing's really going on yet. So I mean, the timing, I really don't see, in my opinion, I don't see a problem with it. Somebody else might, but like, that's just their opinion. My opinion is my opinion. But I don't think this is should turn into a big topic.
I don't think so either.
Honestly,
I think
honestly, I think it was just. I think it might have been a little too. I think it might have been a little. It was odd, and I think it was a little unnecessary, but
I agree.
inappropriate. I don't think it was.
I
Um,
definitely don't think it was inappropriate because, like I've been saying many times, everybody's subjected to their own opinion. But I think, like I said, especially as a broadcaster, there's a time and place to say certain things. You got to be careful because, like you said, the mic's hot. Excuse me, the mic is
right.
hot. So you got, like I said, there's a time and place for everything to do and say. So you got to be careful. I know some people. I don't like. Again, you and me don't think this is inappropriate, but some people are gonna think otherwise. If not
Right.
everybody agrees with the same thing, and
Right. I agree
that's
with that
just,
part. I agree
that's
with that part. I think the oddest part, but Kamala Biden's ticket. I think that was the oddest part because you really don't hear even athletes, like even athletes. Well, I mean some of them, but like you really don't hear them say like who they're gonna vote for. They'll talk about the political issues that they believe in, but you don't really hear them who they're gonna vote for a lot. And I think for him to say like that won't happen with the Kamala Biden ticket, I think that was very unusual for somebody in the sports world in general to be talking about that. That's the one thing I thought was unusual, especially for a broadcaster. A player, it's less unusual because now, a lot have shown a lot of distance towards Donald Trump. So like a lot of you can tell a lot of athletes, don't like Donald Trump or like you know what I'm saying? They don't agree with
right.
like certain views that he has, and they got their own, and it's like two completely polar opposites. Before a broadcast, this is really interested that he mentioned who he was going to vote for, whatever it was. I mean, looking at this tweet, this is more of like kind of like it sounds. If I were to read this and this was somebody, and I didn't know who this was, and you would ask me, is this person a Trump or Biden supporter? I would have read that first message and been like, this sounds like a Trump supporter, because he's always talking about men and women, service, the men in uniforms who are police officers, army men, military, all that. But I don't know whether he said it sarcastically or not. I think it's very unusual for a broadcaster to be talking about who they're gonna vote for. That's the most
I
unusual
agree.
part I found of it. I found on it.
I 100% agree. And I want to touch up on now that we're talking about this whole, comments. I want to put out there that, and I know this is going to go a little off topic, but it's fine. I can do it for one time. I think, with all this going on and everything, Mario can vouch for me. As a black man, I'm very, angered. There's been a lot of craziness going on this year in
I agree
terms
with
of
that.
racism. There's a lot of issues with the races, with the social injustice. Racism is a thing. It's always been a thing, and quite frankly, I don't think it's going to stop being a thing. So as long as we make a change, and for my viewers out there, I just want to put this out here right now. Racism is not we're not gonna allow racism anywhere on this channel. We're not
All
we're
right,
not
I
gonna
completely agree with
tolerate it.
that.
We're not gonna tolerate it whatsoever. That's a huge issue. Just that's something that I get very angered about, given my heritage. Something my family takes a huge deal. Something Mario, despite him not being black, it's something he takes a very big deal. It's something a lot of us take personally, myself included. And I will not tolerate any sort of racism on this channel whatsoever.
I 100% agree, Nate. I got nothing to add to that. Absolutely
All right,
agree. There's not going to be any of that. There's not going to be any of that here. It's unnecessary. It's
good.
inappropriate. It's not going to happen.
All right. Now that we're off that serious topic, let's go back to sports. I want to talk Thursday night football. Who do we got for playing Thursday night football? Eagles versus Giants. God, they could have picked better opponents for Thursday night football. I have a feeling they're giving up on Thursday night football. I got to be honest with you. But anyway, that's nothing we won't be talking about right now. What do you think is going to happen here? Who do you think is going to win this game?
Well, Eagles offense, they're ranked 22nd. Giants is ranked 31st. So I mean, like that's not really that great. Giants has a better defense. They're 18th opposed to the Eagles 21st. Passing yards, the Giants only have like 187 and a half this year per game, opposed to the 207 per game from the Eagles. Rushing yards for the Giants, they got 87.8. opposed to the Eagles 122.5. Points per game, the Giants have 16.8 versus 23.5 for the Eagles. Right now, all those stats like that, and those are offensive stats. I didn't have enough room to write in. Judging by those stats right there, I think that I think that the Eagles have a good chance to win this. For Giants too, they're gonna have they have Darius Slayton's out, so that's a big one. That's a key part of their offense right there. That's gonna be out. For the Eagles though, the injuries is the other thing you got to look at. Between Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders, their safeties Wallace and Epps, Deshaun Jackson. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Maddox, their corner, Alshon Jeffrey, Lane Johnson. Eagles have a lot of injuries, which is why I think this is going to be closer than what it is. But I'm gonna still go with the Eagles here, but probably between 7 and 10 points. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. Right now, the Eagles are 1-4-1. The Giants are 1-5. So despite how bad this game is, this is very important for the NFC East because with the division leaders being 2-4 and the Dallas Cowboys, this is a chance for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Giants to really ride the Cowboys' tails with a win and secure that number one spot in the NFC East. Because even despite how bad the NFC East division is, it's still a playoff berth if in it.
I agree. I still think they could have picked a better opponent for Thursday Night Football, but I think this is going to be a close one. I got nothing to add to that. It's going to be, I don't want to say good, but I want to say interesting. It's going to be interesting. But well, now we're on topic of NFL. I'm going to list you the players of the week that NFL just posted out earlier today. You know, you got a list. I'm going to name them. Here we go. We got Derrick Henry on the list, obviously. 22 rushes, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. We got another one. Matt Ryan, 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, 75% completion rate, 136.6 rating. Here we go. We got Calais Campbell, 3 sacks, 5 tackles, 4 TFLs. Bubble Baker, seven tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. Mario, there's a couple more on there, but I want to say so far, what do you think of this? Do you agree or no?
Well, first, pronounce them right.
I'm trying. I'm trying my best, man. I'm trying.
Calais Campbell, and
right,
Buda Baker.
Buda Baker.
You good?
Right,
You good? I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you, bro. I can't be. Well, first of all, I mean, and for special teams, Brandon McManus, he had 6 field goals with 18 points. All the 18 points from the Broncos. They won without a touchdown. He had he had a couple 50-yard. He had a couple field goals that were 50 yards out. And then Cairo Santos on the Chicago Bears, he had 5 field goals. He had 1 from 55 yards out. He had 2 extra points. First of all, no doubt, Derrick Henry, I think, should definitely be on this list this week. I mean, 22 rushes, 212 yards, and 2 TDs. That's just not player of the week. That's like probably week of the. That's probably like player of the month right there, Derrick Henry. From what he did, that's probably the best performance of the month. What Derrick Henry did, and there's no doubt about it that Derrick Henry should be on this list. Matt Ryan, 371 yards, 4 TDs, and a 75% completion rating percentage, with a 36.6 rating. Even though he beat my Vikings, he definitely deserves to be on this list. No turnovers. He had 40 plus points. He was distributing the ball great great passing. He didn't get fumbled. He didn't fumble the ball. They protected really well, and he was the main drive on this Falcons offense. And so I got to give Matt Ryan a lot of credit for that, to a point where their rushing game was a no-show with Todd Gurley that game. Despite how bad the Vikings were, they really stopped that run pretty good. But Matt Ryan's passing was the key factor to why they won that game. Some guys on offense though I think could have really made this list. You can make an argument for Kenyon Drake on the Arizona Cardinals, but they're probably not going to have 2 running backs on the same list. Basically, You can do Kenyon Drake. Some people, Patrick Mahomes, you can make a case for that. But again, I still don't think Patrick Mahomes did better than Matt Ryan last week. Um, I mean, Kyler Murray, you can kind of make a case, but again, that passing completion percentage is probably the reason why he didn't. You know what I'm saying? Probably the reason why he didn't make it.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk, he had 86 yards, but only 2 receptions. Same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. He had 2 receptions for 73 yards. So I don't think that's enough receptions to make it on the list. I'll
Mm.
say this though. Um, Justin Jefferson, for a guy who had 9 catches, 166 yards, and 2 TDs, he could have definitely made this list. But I do understand that in order to make the list, you have to win. It's all winners on this list who won this last week, and the Vikings didn't win. So yeah, that's so basically offense. I believe another exception you could have made was Kenyon Drake. Going to defense, Calais Campbell, he had 3 6, 3 6. Oh my God, 3 sacks, 5 tackles, and 4 tackles for loss. I believe that's some player. I believe that's defensive player of the week stats right there. Those 3 sacks really helped him. If it was just the 5 tackles and the 4 for loss, I don't think he makes it. But those 3 sacks definitely, put him on this list. I can agree with that. Buda Baker, I looked at his stats. If he didn't make defensive player of the week, then there was no need to be. Then there shouldn't even have been a defensive player of the week. We talking about a guy who had 7 tackles, a sack, an interception, and a forced fumble as a safety. So I mean, Buda Baker, credit to him, especially in the league, in my opinion, Buda Baker. Um, yeah, I believe he definitely could have made it on that defense. I think Hassan Reddick on the Cardinals could have definitely made it. You know, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, it's really hard to determine. A lot of defenders on the Steelers could have made it, I believe, but I believe those 2 guys are very accepting of being players of the week. And as for total, 11 total field goals combined for them, 18 50. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do math. 28. There are 33 total points out of both of them. And then 2 extra points added to that. So 35 total points out of both kickers. Those guys definitely deserve special teamers of the week. So I really don't have a problem with this players of the week list.
I don't either.
I think they did a good job this week. So
Yeah, I totally agree. Hey, let's take a break real quick. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. We are back again. Sorry for the delay, but we are back. We got the final topic of the day. This one was a bit of a short episode. It was kind of hard for us to find some hot topics of the day, but we got a Lomachenko shoulder injury. Mario, I'll let you take it from here. What did he do?
yeah, all right. So a few weeks before this fight, Lomachenko was having some problems with his right shoulder, and he's had these problems like in the past too. So after the fight, he got a right shoulder surgery. He got it Monday. He had the same shoulder injury, and he had the same surgery in 2018 of May. According to the doctor, they said it was pre-existing ailment and injury suffered in the second round against Lopez. The doctor said he should be able to resume training mid-January. He said when he got into the U.S. for the fight, he felt a sharp pain. He felt a sharp pain in that shoulder. The MRI did not reveal significant injury. He took an injection for the pain, but he warned the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association. Also, he warned the Nevada State Athletic Commission. During the injection because he couldn't spar with it or train. Pain flared up a few weeks later during another sparring session. He got another injection in his shoulder, and the father and trainer wanted to call off the fight, but Loma wanted to fight Lopez anyway, and Loma actually said he said if he can't fight him, he'd rather retire. And then after the fight, Loma says he would want a rematch. So my question to you is, Nate, do you think Loma should have accepted this fight knowing about the shoulder injuries?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think if you're hurt, you need to sit out and see what the problem is. I I made this mistake before in baseball, and it only made me worse. I think boxing's a different story. You need your shoulder to reach out and punch. And I think that's an issue he should have addressed before the fight. I understand it's a big fight. He's putting his titles on the line and all that, but what comes first, especially when you're an athlete, if you want to go in the long run, the first thing that comes in your worries as an athlete is health. You got to be healthy. I don't know how many times I said this. I kind of had that same mentality, when I still played back in high school. I was very competitive. I was like, even if I got hurt, I'm like, all right, I'm hurt. Fine. Let me beat myself up more. See, Lomachenko is pushing, he's in his early 30s. It's still pretty young for an athlete, but it's like mid-age. And I personally think, if you're hurt, especially at that age, where you're about to reach your final years, I think he should have just sat this one out. I think he should have just rescheduled the match, figure out what's wrong with his shoulder, heal up before he fights again. And I think that's going to be a mistake on his end moving forward. I think that's going to show moving forward. I don't think it's going to show that much because he already had surgery before and he fought really, really well even after the surgery. So I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect, but I think you will see a difference moving forward with him.
See, in any other fight, I would have said like you could have easily fought through it. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. I would have said you could have easily fought through it. Like, well, not easily fought through it. Could have definitely fought through it because, like, I know a lot of boxers. Like Deontay Wilder goes through a little bit of injuries and he still fights through it. Floyd Mayweather, a lot his whole career, he had to do like a special treatment for his hands because they were so brittle. And in a lot of fights, I would have said like you need to take that. You know what I'm saying? Like you could fight through it. This fight, on the other hand, after seeing what happened, he could have postponed this a little bit. But the way it sounds like this shoulder pain was not gonna leave. And so I don't know exactly how bad it was coming into the fight. I don't know exactly how bad his shoulder felt. Another thing is they didn't want to he didn't want to postpone the fight, and they didn't really say anything about it because they didn't want anybody to think that they were making excuses. And so here's what I'll do. Credit to Lomachenko because when he took that injection, credit to him for telling the drug organization, the association that deals with that. Credit to him for telling them that because a lot of fighters would have took the injection,
And never said
not tell
anything.
the association, and then they probably would have got caught for doping. And Lomachenko's legacy, you don't want to get caught for doping. It's just something you don't want to do because it drains it. And the other thing is he could have easily postponed this because Lomachenko before this fight, he was the A side. He had the 3 belts opposed to Lopez's 1. He was the bigger name. He was the pound for pound king of boxing opposed to Lomachenko. And so he could have postponed this fight he could have pushed it a few weeks ahead. But this shoulder pain, it sounded like it wasn't going away. I don't know how bad it was for him, but if it was bad, I could understand. Now I could understand why he wasn't aiming for the head when Lopez was hitting his body. I can understand why he took it so cautious within the first half. But again, the way I viewed the fight, I think it was a draw. But the judges thought differently. So the judges only thought he won 1 or 2 rounds. So I think do I think this shoulder injury cost him? According to the judge, to me, yes. To me, because if I was judging that fight, Lomachenko definitely needed one round to win that fight.
Right.
If I was a judge in that fight, Lomachenko definitely needed 1 round. But according to these other judges, he lost by like a good. The closest was 16-12, which is like a 2-3 round fight. And so, do I think this shoulder injury cost him the fight? No, I really don't. I think Lopez beat him. Do I think that his ability not to counterpunch Lopez every single time he went for a body shot cost him the fight? Yes, but that's not really a problem because between the 7th and 12th round, Lomachenko was swinging. He was swinging at Lopez. So with that being said, his shoulder did not cost him this fight. Respect to Lomachenko for accepting it, but in the future, you might want to think about postponing it. So now he's going to have a rematch. Now he wants a rematch. And I don't think Lopez is going to duck from him. I think Lopez might accept one fight before him and then take the Lomachenko fight if he still is champion. But But the question is, if this shoulder pain with Lomachenko continues to happen, are you going to postpone it this time as a learning lesson, or are you going to do the same thing? Because if you're going to do the same thing, you're going to lose to Lopez the same exact way.
I totally agree with you, man. And like I said before, especially as an athlete, even the young ones too, you got to make sure your health is your number one priority. Right now, though viewers don't know, I'm dealing with a knee injury right now. I'm out for the rest of the year. My season ended before it could even get off the ground. But I gotta give my props to Lomachenko though. He fought with an injury. You know what? Not a lot of guys have the guts to do that. It's just, especially in these days, injuries get very, very gruesome these days. Torn Achilles, torn ACLs, MCLs, PCLs, whatever the hell you can think about. Broken bones coming out of your damn skin. Injuries these days are becoming extremely brutal. And I think that's something, much respect to Lomachenko. He fought through that. I don't think both of us would have ever been able to do that. I think if I were to attempt, let me tell you a little something actually, just because this just came to mind now we're talking about it. My friend Dave, right? He was boxing the other day, and he actually dislocated his shoulder boxing because of the way he swings. He swings so fast and aggressive that he swung so hard, the bone of his arm, right? I think it was his shoulder blade or something like that. I think it came out of his skin. So now he's in a sling for I think it's a couple of months, either a couple of months, maybe a little more than that.
Shoulder injuries are very common in boxing.
That's something that you have to do. He's younger too, so he can rebound from that. Lomachenko is in his early 30s. That's not old, but as for athlete status, that is a little old. So you kind of gotta worry about that. But I still give Lomachenko my much respect, because that's playing through an injury like that is not easy. A lot of people fail with that. And you know what? I know he lost, but he played through 12 rounds with an injury. And, that deserves a lot of respect. But hopefully it gets better. He comes back in full force.
Yeah, shoulder injuries are very common in boxing. You hear a lot of boxers talk about how they tore their rotator cuff. And Manny Pacquiao dealt with that. Floyd dealt with that. A lot of boxers have dealt with tearing their rotator cuff. And it's something that in boxing is tough, because you never want to be because the problem with boxing is it's your name. You never want to be the fighter who postpones a fight, because in boxing is such an animal in sport. It's like a predator and a prey. When you postpone a fight, sometimes it shows fair. And that's something that Lomachenko probably didn't want to do. Now, personally, I'm not going to call Lomachenko dumb, or I'm not going to say it was a stupid decision, because me as a person, that's something I would have done. Exactly what Lomachenko did, that's what I would have done right there. Because I like to think that whatever injury I can play, unless it's to the point where I can't walk or I can't move an arm or whatever, I'm going to play through it. Right. So I play, I've done gym classes and with torn ligaments in my knee. And I've done I'm always the type of guy that I don't like sitting down. I like to get up and fight. Or I like to get up and play whatever I'm playing, or do whatever I'm doing. And so with that being said, I would have done the same thing Lomachenko did. And it might not be the smartest decision. I completely agree with that. I would have done the same thing. But I'm not agreeing with what he did. But in boxing, it's a lot different than just baseball. In baseball and football, you could sit out a week and whatever. Nobody will think anything of it. But in boxing, it's you against the other guy. And if I were to come up and be like, hey, I'm postponing this fight, then my opponent can come at me. And Tiafimo, especially the way he talks, and especially the trash talking that he talks, him and his dad could easily be like, he's too afraid to fight us, so he had to push it back. He wasn't ready to fight us, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? As a boxer, me personally, I wouldn't care. Because number one, my health comes first. And number two, they can keep talking all the trash that they want to talk. It wouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm still accepting to fight you. So I ain't afraid of nothing. I'm still accepting to fight you. Vasily Lomachenko probably didn't want no excuses coming into this fight. But it doesn't make any sense to me, because you mentioned this after the fight. So now it sounds like an excuse. I would have personally mentioned this before the fight. I think that would have been less of an excuse. I'm dealing with a shoulder injury, but I'm dealing with a shoulder injury, whatever, but I'm going to try to fight through it. It's like if me and you were boxing, right?
Right.
And you knocked me out, right? Or you TKO'd me or whatever. And then after the fight, I was like, well, my arm and my leg wasn't feeling good. That's an excuse. You know what I'm saying? That sounds more of an excuse as if I told you before the fight, my shoulder's not feeling very good, my leg's not feeling good, but I'm gonna try to push through it. That's a different story. But when you say something like that after the fight, it sounds like more of an
It sounds
excuse.
like an
But for his
excuse, right?
trainer and Lomachenko to say we didn't want to make any excuses, now it just looks even worse on your part. So he will get his rematch. Respect him for fighting through it. I guarantee you the injury was probably real, especially that he dealt with it back in 2018 in May. They said he can start training in mid January. But for future references, if you have that injury and like there's a possible chance that it's going to be tough for you to fight with it, you might want to think about postponing it, because next fight they're probably going to get better judges, and if it's this close, then it's going to be a lot of closer score, and you don't want that shoulder injury to affect that score by 1 round.
Absolutely. And one thing, I don't know if he's gonna see this, but shout out to my boy Dave. I'm not sure exactly how accurate I was with that depiction of your injury, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. That's your thing. But I totally agree. Nonetheless, I think, especially for boxing, you need your shoulders. That's a huge deal. You gotta. If it was hurting you before, like you said, that's something you got to deal with. That's something you got to be like, hey, man, let's put this a few weeks in advance. I gotta worry about this. But I think now it's done and over with. He went 12 rounds with an injury. Personally, if it was one of us two, he wouldn't even last a round. So I give him my respect for that. No offense to you, Mario. I don't think we would have lasted a round if we had a shoulder injury like that, two in boxing or anybody in general. I just think that.
Hey, I couldn't tell you. So
Yeah,
like,
I couldn't
but
tell
credit to
you.
Lomachenko.
Much credit to him, man. Hope you get better too.
Anything else you want to add about anything today?
No, not really. I think we covered
All right,
everything.
that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for episode 4 of All You Can Talk Sports. I'm M-Carp, aka Mario Carpenteri. That's your boy Soupy, aka Nate Campbell. And we will see you guys for episode 5
Episode
tomorrow.
5 tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.